남도 주른自己 사진된 등산 방면을 랭거를 실현이 되나와 죽은 사람 도전 도견 돌아자즈 조간 사베 민주 담비스 르냐람 제로 르마자 대신 구현조德세 용제 라마 저바게라데 지오군도 양도 라마다 라멘 주제 발랄롱 교제 소다 람제 윤데 라조 렌도제 장게 공방뇨도 Firstly, I will request everyone to generate your mind towards the bodhicitta and listen to the teaching. And I will be continuing from yesterday stop. And today we begin with the one of the four mind training of common practices. So the first is the precious human life. And according to the practice text, which written by the, if I'm not wrong, by the 14th Karmapa, Jamgon Kongtrul Lodro Thaye, you can find that the sentence where it shows about the precious human life, where it goes from the root text for the four common preliminaries. First, first meditate on this precious human body, so difficult to gain, so easy to lose. This time I shall make it meaningful. So the sentence itself is very clear, and by actually that is it. By chanting this one time, and we actually need to meditate contemplating on the importance of human life, and it depends how long one should do meditation. If, for example, if you are a new beginner and fully committed to do the practice of Kongtrul, I will recommend to do 7 days least, or if possible, like 15 days. It depends on the individual person's, kind of capacity. So therefore, it's really up to the persons. But so when you have not much time, you can at least do some, take a time to reflect on how the human life is important. And the commentary goes from here. First, meditate as follows. This human body with the 8 leisure and 10 resources is superior to even a wish-fulfilling jewel, because we have not been born in any of the 8 states that lack leisures. Contemplate the reasons why it is so difficult to gain. So, in this actually the concept of being the human life is being important comes from a good reasoning, because we, being the person, haven't seen much or felt. If we haven't experienced what kind of lifestyle of different being are living, without having this proper understanding, it is very hard for us to see the importance of being what we are doing, and how much we have a value, how much we have the power. Because right now, somehow we are distracted by the work, by many sort of responsible and so on. Due to that, sometime we might feel a lack of, we sometimes feel like we have not much value, and it's better we seek a better life than what we are having right now. But when we actually try to think or compare to a different kind of living beings, we are very fortunate that even we are just sitting right now is a very kind of a big thing. But in here, from the Buddhist point of view, especially from the Mahayana, we hear they mentioned that the eighth kind of a state or like being doesn't have the capacity to let ourselves to engage, to understand what is meaning of, in general, life, what is meaning of impermanence, what is meaning of just not only from the spiritual point of view, but what is meaning about compassion, what is meaning about caring, love, and so on. So those beings which are mentioned one by one, the first are hell beings, experience the suffering of heat and cold without the slightest break. So this is actually coming from a spiritual point of view. In general, whether we believe in hell or not, whether for someone hell is just an imaginary kind of conviction, whether it is true or not, but somehow we should accept that there is a suffering. There is a being, truly physically, mentally being suffered from many ways. Not only human, but we can see there are many animals, whether it's a sea creature or living earthly beings, whatever they are, kind of they have taken the form, but somehow they have no freedom. And some animals, of course, they are all equal, as they all have the rights. They all feel suffering. They all feel joy. In that way, all the sentient beings are equal, but due to their, let's say, karmic circumstances, they do feel much suffer from the physical form, from the mental form. So in general, we believe that most of the hell realm is like the realm of imaginary. Because let's say in our dream, when we do sleep, there is no guarantee there will not be a dream. Yeah, all depends on circumstances. So if the cause and condition are there, there will be a dream, and there will be a form, and there will be belief towards the form of being yourself, being a land, being a tree, being everyone in your dream. Although from your point of view, due to the lack of wisdom, or you're controlled by the ignorance, but you do believe there is a land and you are talking to somebody. And somehow when that imaginary person talks to you or harms to you, you do feel kind of hurt or suffer. Just imagine that in a very worse condition. For example, like a hell. So even though if we die in dream, actually we're not dead, but the suffering what we are facing is quite similar as what we are facing right now in the reality. The only difference is that one is real, one is not, but the suffering itself is the same thing. In that way, we can accept there is a hell. We can accept and believe there is a suffering from this kind of a illusionary. So in a Buddhist point of view, what they are talking, whether in fact it is true or not, but somehow it shows that there is a suffering. There is also possibility that we can perceive those suffering, right? So in that way, there are some individual state in the hell, mostly, but they don't have a slightest break of enjoy to take a breath and, be liberated from a suffering constantly due to cause and condition, until the cause and condition stops. Till then, the imagination, the conception starts continuing. Just imagine that now we are alive, we have physical form. If we are asleep, someone can poke you and just wake up. When you are dead, there's no one who can, wake you from sleep unless yourself. So if imagine in that way, it is very much scarier than how we expect it right now. So in that way, we have to accept that there is a state or realm where there's a full suffering because it happens cause and conditionally. So in that way, if we are in that kind of a zone, it is very hard to have just a glimpse towards thinking about the Dharma, because the intention are so strong towards the suffering that at that moment, what most important things is just to be relieved from this suffering. So in that way, for example, the hell beings, And similar it goes to the hungry ghosts. Hungry ghosts are dominated slowly by the suffering of hunger and thirst, as it is written down. So to whom, are not aware of the eight state that lack of lecture, so there's eight list. You can just make a note and remember. So here, when we do meditate on precious human life, we are actually trying to, compare our life towards the different life of different being. So what is how the meditation of human life works is that the more you see they have limit and they have the capacity to practice the Dharma, the more you see you have the freedom, the more you can see that I have the opportunity to practice the Dharma. And if you see the more, kind of interest, so I would say you are working, being improved by practicing the precious human life. And it same goes to the animal are dull and ignorant and do not understand or know anything. This now in the animal realm, yeah. So yes, it also shows from the comparison among the animal, the scientists consider dolphins and the monkey are the smart ones. But anyway, I think humans are much smarter. But anyway, all the sentient beings, due to karma, they can feel some sort of experience impermanence through suffering, or they or somehow animal can, experience being alive is just meaningless, because many animal being tortured, being threatened by the more scarier beings, and so therefore they feel somehow the life of what they are having is very much, let's say, most of the animal feel that no protector, there is no protection, and there is no refuge to be taken. And yes, although they go through this, or they are under control by someone, for sure. And of course, if we see between the human and the animal connection, of course, we don't understand what they are talking. They also doesn't understand what we are trying to say. And so that they won't be understanding what kind of practice even though we taught to them. So the mostly the animal beings somehow always they live in a very threatened in their daily lifestyle. I mean, in daily lives. We should not think only to the positive. We also need to think from the negative point of view, so that we can be more wise enough to understand what is happening in the lives of different realms. The fourth, the lands where the Buddhism has spread are small, and the place where it has not exceedingly numerous. Those born in outlying lands do not hear even a word of Dharma. Even though in a human realm, especially let's say in this earth, there are countless of countries that there is, doesn't believe in a spiritual, not only Buddhist, but in general, being an atheist. And also, I mean, in Buddhist, the concept of, the atheist or, hell or hungry ghost or whatever they are, in Buddhist, we don't kind of consider them good or bad. We keep it in the middle way. We only judge through the action. So we are not saying atheist is good, nor bad, but when it comes to the fact of, yes, there is a cause and effect. There is a truth in this. By practicing Dharma, of course, there will be a result of being more peaceful, more wisdom. Those are in Buddhist, what we call it karma. So if a person doesn't accept the fact what is happening, that's what we call ignorant. So this kind of a mind is a very difficult kind of to engage with Dharma. So let's imagine like this kind of environment where all the people doesn't believe the fact, and not only that, there is no one who point out the fact is real, but instead just going with the flow of whatever it is, it's just like nothing. So in that way, yeah, it truly, doesn't help us to benefit ourselves to more, or to move towards or acquire, to think about more Dharma. And so like this, what we call it, takup, where the fact, the Dharma even is not taught by anyone. So this is not kind of a land of imagination, but this kind of country still does exist. And in that way, for now, we all are very fortunate that we live in a society where people do accept what is happening. People do accept the Dharma. People do, show the path, what is right and what is wrong. If there's let's say, a place right and wrong is equal, then everything is messed up for sure. So in here, now, we know the rights, we know the wrong, and also there is someone, enlightened being. Doesn't have to be a Buddha himself, Shakyamuni, but of course, before Buddha, there were many countless of enlightened beings, regardless of the name of Buddhism. have taught what is true, what is wrong, what is right, and through this, uh, through this, people get very much kind of enlightened mind and get very much benefit from this. So far, we are not in a place of like a remote where the where the definition of right and wrong is not there. We live in a very spiritual kind of country. So in that way, we have the good capacity. Then the fifth, long-lived God of the desire, form, and formless realms are so distracted by attachment so to sensory pleasure and samadhi that they have no interest in the Dharma. Yes, so far, yeah, it mentioned the long-lived gods. And if some of are new, in Buddhist we believe there is a God realm, not a creator God, but instead there is a God realm. Can be we can take birth in that realm when we have a good, strong enough merits. We can born there. So the realm itself, what we express in the text, is that it is like a birth of imaginary. For example, we do, dream in a very place or different places, but in order to arrive at that place, you don't have to take a birth from moms. Every time you don't have to take a birth from a mother in order to, be there. It's just a miracle. You know, being assisted in that dream. And that way, it's similar in that way, long-lived God. Those who have strongly accumulated merits with their strong good intention, they somehow, when they die, a person die, they take a birth miraculously. So in that, when you already existed in that realm, the pleasure of the calmness, the comfort of the environment from what you are experiencing from your own mentality in there is so joyful that even the Dharma to be remembered is very hard. And it will be very much difficult, even though, let's say, in our human realm, if we, in a very happy and very joyous state, we don't much think about the deity. The deity is already gone because we forget to practice the deity. And when we feel some sort of impermanence, let's say my friend passed away or my relative passed away, we started to think about, the Dharma is there. The Dharma is truth. And we started to believe in Dharma. We started to believe in the teaching of a Buddha. So in that way, we somehow, we couldn't balance ourselves. And it similar goes to the gods who live very long and desire from the attachment to the sensory. And it is similar to that. And the sixth, I think, those who have extreme views and those who naturally dislike the Dharma have wrong view. And this is also now here. This is something depends on the view itself. And if a person have the extreme view on not accepting the fact of cause and condition, cause and effect. Let's say human does have birth and aging and sickness and death, as well as people go through many conception of ignorance and attachment, hatred. If a person doesn't believe in these things, then for them it's very pointless, even though we taught so many Dharma teaching towards them. So in that way, we should know that that the wrong view is an actually very big obstacles just to have a glimpse of what is happening in the right view. So in that way, so though this the way this blocks us to see or to practice the Dharma. And seventh, those in desolate world are beings of dark eons when no Buddha has come and not even the word of the three Jews are heard. So, so let's say before the Buddha Shakyamuni was taking birth, before the existence of Buddha Shakyamuni, of course, there is at that period there is no a right path had been shown, and if there is no path to follow, then there is no liberation. And for us, we are very lucky that we are not there that time. So we are here in a time where the Buddha Shakyamuni came, done the will of Dharma, and passed away. And also all the enlightened followers have taught again what Buddha have taught in a very simplest way, so that now not only that we have or we can able to connect with the Dharma, but we have many choices. For example, Hinayana, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. Within the Vajrayana, we have like all numerous kind of lineages. We can, it's up to us that which one you would like to choose. But we have, so like we are in the time that we have full of choices, opportunity. Not in like a different planet where there is being, not being taught anything. But here we have the capacity and also the choices to be learned what kind of Dharma we are wanted to hear. And the eight, the dumb call it Lempa in Kham dialect, are eaters whose mind do not turn towards the Dharma. I think this is very much sometimes due to lack of cause and condition, people do, can't hear.
They do not have their faculty are impaired, so they cannot comprehend. Like the faculty are impaired, so they are mute. Or like, what do you mean?
Yes. And some people due to their
the faculty do not work properly.
So therefore, even though the teachings and the instructions are available for them, the physical form makes a big obstacles to engage towards the Dharma. So far, we don't have those 8 obstacles in our life. So in that way, it's a very big thing. For example, in order to enter a very big university, you have to, examine some files, whether you are qualified. It is similar to this way, whether you are, qualified to engage with the Dharma or not, and, whether there's an obstacle on engaging towards the Dharma. It is similar to this. So here, how should we meditate on human life? So now what I mentioned, just try to imagine yourself in being those realm and try to see how you kind of able to perceive the teaching, living a life of those realm, and try to see by human and try to meditate on impermanence, how much there will be differences. So it is more like not only meditating, but it is together with contemplating and meditating together and think about more impermanence. Actually, from my point of view, precious human life, the impermanence of death, and the cause and effect for samsara is a general kind of for mind training, which comes from the teaching of impermanence. So basically, those all are the practice of impermanence. So one should understand that the meditation itself is the impermanence, so that we should not attach towards our our presence, human life. We should not take very strong attachment to our human form and so on. We just have to see everything changes, and like a house, like a guest house. We are the body is like a house, like a guest house, and we enter and go day by day. So like this, we have to see, and mostly we have to acceptance on impermanence, and that is a good way to start with the precious human life. And then these beings have no opportunity to practice Dharma and are tormented by their particular kind of karma. So they do not have leisure right now, since your mental continuum has not taken birth in any of these 8 unfavorable states. You possess the 8 leisure. So this all talking about the of not being free. So although this concept coming from a spiritual point of view, but as I mentioned earlier, try to think that that is possible. And in fact, not only possibility, but it is happening in individual life. And so therefore, we should be very much think that we are fortunate. We are very fortunate that we are not in this kind of circumstances. So here it would be very much a meditation, mostly thinking, and So to do this meditation, it is not required just to be, do meditation posture. You can walk, talk, sleep, whatever kind of action you do, you can train your mind that whatever kind of a life we are living right now, we are very precious and fortunate. And what kind of the families surroundings are living, they are very fortunate that they are not suffering from this eight kind of state. So we will continue. If you attain a body capable of practicing Dharma, in order to practice purely, you must not be affected by 16 circumstances without leisure. There are 8 defects based on present circumstances. So now the earlier 8 actually comes from the how to say from Indian 그 자숑 자기숑여러 되는 연구열에
Indian treatises, Indian texts.
It comes from the Indian ancient texts of Buddhism. But now the 제기 the 타기기엔 등소대 니가는 연구열에 자비 니가는 연구.
But the next text, the ones that are going to be explained, we find them both in Indian and in Tibetan traditional texts.
Yeah. The first are the 5 poisons being exuded condensively
Exceedingly
coarse and disturb your mind. So these are kind of in the presence you have to see those. Now in the presence, these 8 are also kind of obstacle in order to engage with the to practice the Dharma. And we should also see that whether this 8 is there in our mind or not. So the 5 poison, So if our mind is, strongly kind of 여자 시단 때문에 차두게 슈첨보 샘드 투바.
If the mind is very agitated by the flow of afflictions such as desire, anger, jealousy, etc.
So, and that moment, practicing Dharma would be very difficult. And also the chances of being on the very basis of calming the mind down, it is very difficult at the very beginning. So therefore, we have to remember that these are the negative sign, in order to practice the Dharma. And the second is being influenced by negative companions. So yes, so in life, whether the person is householder or a monk or nun or whatever kind of life they're living, somehow the human life always rely on like companion. Whether it's since we take birth, there is mother, father as a companion. And when we start to go in school or whatever, there is a friends as a companion. And so in life, there's a real less that we are always, being alone. We are always surrounded with somehow some sort of human or animal, what kind of. So we have the nature of being together with someone. So it is important. So in that way, it is not like, a new thing. It is a human nature that, people need, rely on someone. Even a spiritual student relies on the teacher, the master. In that way, every individual people, somehow rely to a person. So in that way, so it's important that we should not, companion towards a person who, as similar to like the 37 practice of Bodhisattva, we should not go along with the bad companions who will, trans your attachment more, anger more, hatred more, and by that the mind becomes so kind of strong that cannot be calm. Continually, our minds always, like a motorbike, this what do you call it, the wheel, continuously moving, and that somehow makes your mind uninhabit, even though it is not our true form. But this kind of companion, if we have the wrong companion, that will change your mind, action, habit, and so on. So far, it will change your future path. So somehow it is very scary when we look at that point of view. So it is very important that we should,
Be neutral or equanimity, to have equanimity.
To have equanimity towards the bad companion, and move more strongly towards a good companion who makes mind turn towards more spiritual. So this is the second. The third, having erroneous view and conduct. So we are lucky that we are not in the third stage. And the fourth, being extremely lazy. So so I think everyone can understand that. Being flooded by obstacles arising from the awakening produce negative action, I think, which is so yeah. And we are not in the state of being taken away by the circumstances of not letting us to practice the Dharma. In a human, in our human life, somehow due to our past karmic kind of karma, even though certain things happen, even though we haven't expected, and we get involved with it by responsible or like physical damage or mental damage, and it is of course due to cause and condition of the past karma, and with that we don't have the opportunity or let us to practice the Dharma. So this is the sixth and the 7 entering the Dharma just to get food and clothing or out of fear of death, and then acting contrary to the teachings. Now, I think the 7th, earlier in ancient time, let's say the monks get armed without, they have no kind of fear, because they live, they renounce the world, and they live their life by begging food, alms, and so on. They live a very simple life. And for this, the people do respect the monk and to the practitioner, so that they offer kind of offerings, so they don't have to face any difficulties to practice the Dharma. In that way, some of the people, to seek the alms, to seek the respect, they enter to the monkhood, and without practicing the Dharma, they take advantage and do perform negative action in the name of Dharma. So, of course, this can happen in our modern days. And so in that, we should remember that the way how we approach towards the Dharma is not this way. And we should not, take advantage of the practice itself to gain respect, and to even though the real act what we are doing is totally opposite from the Dharma itself. So I think I explained the 7 and 8 togetherly. There are 8 mental conditions unfavorable to Dharma practice. I think I will stop here for today. Sanje ni che gombang zo che ngong gewa di ye nyurdo da chaja shenpo trubjun drowa chikjam ma le pa di ye sa la go pa sho sanje kusong ni be chen lap tang chunyi menjuru den be chen lap genduen me che dun be chen lap che dara ngwa nana dro pa sho